I got a kick out of an interview I saw with Bill+Gross on CNBC. I saw it on in a video because I don't watch CNBC. It's garbage. But as you know, I've been very critical of Bill+Gross. I've called him out for years, actually, going all the way back to 2011 when he infamously tweeted his tweet, "Who's gonna buy them now?" Referring to U.S. Treasuries, and that was at a time when the Fed was ending, I think it was its first program of quantitative easing, and Gross was like, well, if the Fed's not going to buy them, who's going to buy them? Not understanding, I guess, that the money to buy treasuries comes from government spending itself, and treasuries are simply dollars in the form of a term. It has a term and a coupon, an interest payment. The government spends, the dollars pile up in the banking system as reserves, and those reserves are just swapped for treasuries. And anyway, the Fed cannot buy treasuries from the Treasury. It's by statute. That's illegal. It buys them in the secondary market off of people and institutions who have already bought them. Okay? So the money is always there to buy treasuries. The funds come from government spending. So I attacked him on that. I also made the prediction that he was going down as a money manager because he didn't understand these fundamentals. So he did. He lost his place as the bond king. He got kicked out of PIMCO, which is a firm he co-founded, I think. He's over at Janus. The new bond king, of course, is Jeffrey Gundlach, who doesn't understand much either. But anyway, I got a kick. Let me get back to what I was saying. I got a kick because after the Fed meeting the other day, Gross was on TV and he said he was shocked. He was verklempt, verklempt. The Yiddish word. I'm verklempt. He could not believe the decision by the Fed because he was saying, hey, back in Jackson Hole, you had Yellen, you had Dudley, you had Fischer. They were all talking tough and hawkish, and Fischer saying, yeah, we're probably going to have two more rate hikes, and even Yellen. And remember the big sell-off in the market, and I was telling everybody that was ridiculous. You got to buy. Of course, I was right. And then what does the Fed do? It defers. It does nothing. It stands pat on rates. And Gross was like saying, well, come on, what about savers? What about pensioners? What about, life insurance companies? In other words, he was talking about the income, right? That's interest income that's paid to people. You're keeping rates low. Yes, that benefits one segment, but it takes away from creditors, and the non-government is a net creditor. How do I know that? Because we're told that every single day that the government owes 19 trillion. Well, guess who owns the 19 trillion? That's all of us. Okay, so people need that money. So Gross was pointing it out in somewhat of a funny way. I for once, I thought Gross added some value in his statements and his comments, because most of the time he doesn't. But here's the thing that he was talking about, and it's something that I've been saying for a long time, that this managing of expectations, this kind of, jiggering the reaction function of investors to try to set rates, to establish rates. Number one, that's a really ineffective and frankly bad way to do things. The Fed should just state a rate and that's it. And I've always said just make the rate zero permanently and use fiscal policy, which is much more effective, to regulate the economy. Okay? But number one, it's an ineffective way the way the Fed tries to do it with managing expectations, because inevitably that adds a lot of unwanted volatility. People got to kind of figure out what's going on in your head by your statements. But number two, and this is what I have been saying, you won't hear it from anybody else, the Janet+Yellen Fed has zero mental game. Zero mental game. I'm telling you, if they were traders, they'd be broke so fast that it would be hilarious. They have zero mental game. She has zero mental game. Fischer has zero mental game. Terrible. They should buy my freaking Forex course. Zero mental game, the way they are operating. And by the way, I said this right at the minute that Yellen was nominated and appointed as Fed chair. I said this Fed is going to inject a lot of volatility. And there you have it. So, funny comment from Bill+Gross, everybody. Bye.